Hello and welcome to ADH Tea, spilling the tea, like literally. I am Donna and I am owner and all the things of Unravel Tea. I drink a lot of tea. Somebody asked me about me, I kind of go to tea.
And I'm Sarah, coffee enthusiast, later turned tea enthusiast. I'm Willy Mama. I'm an empowerment mentor, author, speaker, writer, and disabled mom to three incredible little humans. In our first episode, we were going to talk about how we kind of, I suppose, found each other, connected with each other, and what that then led to in our lives, which ultimately has us sitting here in front of you today. Well, actually, not sitting here, but in your ears today. So, this is going to be a real insight into both of our, would you say, spicy brains, but very unique, but very scarily similar spicy brains. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Let's see where this takes us. Sarah, what's in your cup and what is on your mind?
So don't hate me. My cup in the morning always has coffee in there. So I am a diehard fan of the strongest coffee you can find in the mornings. And then tea is my evening drink before bed. So, and as for what's on my mind, depends at what exact second you ask me, because my head is like Piccadilly station, just like things coming in and out at rapid speed simultaneously. So yeah, just now my brain is pretty quiet because we're just back from a family break, and my head is pretty trying to recharge, I guess, and recalibrate to being back at home. So yeah, I'm pretty chill just now for a change. What about you?
I have got actually my recent award-winning green tea in my cup. That was not
Oh,
intentional either.
nice.
That, but it's so refreshing. It's so good. It's like it kind of gives me a kickstart to the day. And it's actually like super easy to brew as well because sometimes I'm just like I just need to get things done, so I will throw the tea leaves in the cup and hot water over it, and I just drink, and it's great.
Now my brain's going to, is there another way to brew tea? Because that's how I always do it.
There
I'm thinking,
is,
oh
there
dear.
is, there is a few other ways to brew tea, um, and I think that that's actually what drew me to tea when I went to China and I was introduced to you sit down and you spend time with the tea. And it's a very grounding experience. And I actually think that I had almost like a self-medication, self kind of calming time to keep my brain under control, even before I knew I had ADHD. Um, and I noticed, like, again, before I even suspected, if I didn't make time for tea and I didn't sit down and do my version of the like Chinese tea ceremony, then my brain was not happy. It's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
There was way even more things going on in my head than usual, and yeah, it was definitely my way to connect and root. Root. It's more like grounding,
Hmm.
and kind of center myself again, and just be present in the moment. And there are so many nuances and there's so many kind of details to notice about tea as well. You know, from the leaf to the smell and what memories does this evoke. And I love the fact if you sit down with somebody else, they'll have a different experience as well.
Yeah.
And it's
No.
amazing. I love the differences. I love the fact that somebody else will be describing it and it'll be slightly different. And they'll, especially with memories, it will evoke a different memory, so that will give them a different feeling to you know, your life experiences are different to mine. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
That's so true. There's a lot of that I can relate to. And as you know, I started out life. In fact, when we first met, I told you that I didn't like tea. And that was like,
oh yeah.
somehow you didn't recoil in horror. You gave me a chance. And we then, but because I adored you, then I was like, there's got to be something about this tea I want to try. And you actually said that you don't like mainstream tea, so I was like,
Mhm.
okay, maybe if I, so I bought some, just wanting to kind of, I guess, know you better and understand your world a little bit more. So, and it changed the game for me to the point where I now buy lots and lots and lots of your tea. Well, not lots and lots, but more than is a healthy amount probably. And I love it. It's a part of my everyday life, and more than that, it's actually a ritual that I now have with my husband, where we, no matter what's going on, excuse me, no matter what's going on in our lives, no matter how busy our day is, or no matter if we've been out and we're home late, we make a point of sitting down, brewing a pot of tea, and sitting together and drinking the tea just as a way to reconnect at the end of a busy day and just to I guess unwind before we go to bed. And it's absolutely beautiful. And no matter what happens, like you just said, if we don't do that, or if something happens, like we were away on a holiday and I was so discombobulated that I couldn't we couldn't have our tea. It just wasn't the same like without our proper tea and proper. So yeah, it definitely has an impact. And maybe that's why I can't sleep in hotels, because I don't have my, maybe
Oh,
that I've just connected that now. That's not
interesting.
my, it's not my normal ritual. So maybe the tea is a fundamental part of my switching my brain off, which
Yeah, yeah, it could
yeah,
be.
that's
That
a
would be interesting to test that the next time you go, take some of the tea with
yeah.
you. And
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm gonna do that because and I literally just figured like that came like revealed itself as I was talking, which is yeah, that's something listeners will get to realize about me. I figure stuff out verbally a lot of the time, and it's like, oh, that's actually a thing. So yeah,
yeah, that's really
so
interesting. I mean, I take tea with me everywhere.
yeah, well that
So,
makes sense.
like, even when I'm going to cafes and things like that, if they don't sell my tea, I actually have like a little tin that I've made up with like put my own tea in tea bags, and I'll just ask for hot water. Um,
Mhm,
yeah, so most of the time there's like some tea houses that I will go and enjoy their tea, but
mhm.
in this country it tends to, yeah, generally it's just not the best tea that people offer, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, even when we were going away, like we just drove to Bulgaria, and I took my Gaiwan, my tea brewing things, and I actually have a travel kettle as well that folds up.
Hmm.
Because over Europe you're not guaranteed a kettle. So so yeah, I have that with me, and I sit and make tea, even in like
Wow.
hotels and things.
I just need to take a moment for the folding kettle. That just that like what?
Mhm. Yep, it kind of concertinas down.
Wow. Okay, so my kids have retractable water bottles, so it might be the
Yes.
same kind
Yeah,
of
it's like
concept.
you do get other ones now as well that are a bit more sturdy. Mine was kind of, let's say, first generation. And it's kind of like a silicon kind of concertina. I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, yeah.
that's the same as the bottles then. These are like little animals. The faces of the bottles are animals, and you can pull it out and it's like
I do not
a
have an
water
animal
bottle.
kettle.
So
It's just a boring kettle.
well, in fairness, you're not three, so it's
I think that
probably
anybody needs an animal kettle or a water bottle.
okay. Thank you for plugging that gap in my head, because my hamster wheel was literally going a foldable kettle. Like so yeah, thank you for calming my hamster. So getting back to the original point, and this is really funny because this is what we do. What's on your mind this week?
That's a good question. I think a lot of what my brain keeps on going back to is the connection to tea. I had a really lovely event with there's a local ADHD group here, and I actually just got to sit down and speak to people about tea, and like having very, very similar conversations, and it's the ritual around it. And I had a lot of people also saying, I don't really like tea, but they're willing to try. Because I was like, well, I don't really like not my tea either.
Yeah.
Um, so it was really nice to just have, people who are open to trying new things and sitting and having a chat with me about it as well. And then me showing them the leaves and, speaking to them about where it actually comes from, because you don't get that. It's not the same with a tea bag because you don't see the leaves. You don't have that
Yeah.
immediate, oh wow, okay, so this is a plant. This is,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't get that detail. You don't get that, you don't get to sit with that. It's
Yeah.
just there's more
Yeah.
disconnection, I think. Um,
100%. That's something that Danny and I have been speaking about over the last few days, actually, with the instant kind of culture that we live in, where everything's instantaneous. There's no ritual, there's no process, there's no build up to anything now. It's like instant gratification, and you really do. It loses its magic, and tea is no different. So that, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's like people just want to have a tea bag, throw it in the thing, and it does stuff. But what's in the tea bag? I would not advise opening a tea bag. It's not the prettiest.
And it's also about going through life on autopilot, I think, a lot of the time. You're doing this thing because you've always done it without actually thinking, well, why am I doing this? And what does it do for me? Like, why is this part of my daily life? And that's what I love since meeting you. I've really become a lot more conscious of this is, well, I guess I've always been a bit of a deep thinker anyway, but doing like having the cup of tea every day, I'm really conscious and really aware of why that's important to me and what it's given me. So I'll never skip it. I'll never, because I know that it's a fundamental part of who I am now, and it makes me a better wife, a better mother, but it helps me sleep better and all that. So I'm really conscious of why I do it. So yeah, I think the more we can do that, and not just do things because we've always done them or because it's
Mm-hmm.
socially acceptable or expected.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not enriching your life or making you feel better, bin it and replace it with something
Yeah.
that is. And
It could,
that's something I feel really passionate about, from your job to your relationships to everything. Like, just if it's not making you a better person or enriching your life in some way, it doesn't need to be there. Like,
mhm. Yeah, it can be really hard to break out of that, especially if it's something so ingrained, though. If it's something
yeah.
that you have always done and you're like, wait a minute, why am I actually doing this? It can be almost jarring at first, actually,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you've always done it since you were a kid. But why?
Yeah,
And then you can go down a big
exactly.
rabbit hole.
Yeah, but that's it exactly. And that it's really funny because obviously my kids are 8, 6, and 3, so they're very young still. But when they say things like, "I don't have a choice," and I from no age I've been saying to them, "There's always a choice. Each choice has consequences, but there's always a choice." So then if I do something that they'll say to me then, "But mummy, there's always a choice." So they come back to me with it, but it's like we are, even the things that are ingrained in us, we still have a choice to do something different. I could have gone through my whole life saying, I'm not a tea drinker, I'm a coffee person, and look at what I've been missing out on, you know.
Mhm. I
So
love the
yeah.
fact that your kids call you out. Great.
Yeah, they do that. I mean, it's awesome, but it's also really challenging to parents sometimes. I was actually thinking about writing something yesterday, and I was like, the challenge of living in a house with 4 other strong personalities is I'm living in a house with 4 other strong personalities. Like, it's a gift and a challenge all in one. It's just like, Donna, do you wanna?
No.
No.
No, I don't want to do anymore. I'm finished. Okay, see ya. Huge thank you for everybody who has joined us for our very first ADH Tea podcast. Check out Sarah on her TikTok at Wheelie Mama, and you can find me on Instagram at Unravel Tea. We do also have an ADHT Instagram at the moment, which doesn't have much on it yet. We'll get there. We'll get there.
We're done. Bye.